Hey guys, welcome to Wellness Crew. Jen and Michelle here. Today we wanted to have a conversation with you. So we've kind of set up on our couch in this kind of very much conversational tone because last week Michelle and I went for a little coffee date and with one of our close friends and had this wonderful conversation, and it was very much an innocent conversation, but it brought us so much energy. And what ended up happening was this very much free-flowing dialogue all around wellness, around personal development, and all of these ahas that were happening for us, or like points of inflection, I should say, that were worth us just kind of like talking through. And what we found ourselves happening as we walked away was that we started thinking about all of the little ahas that we had and how much energy we felt going into the coffee date, which was like kind of a little bit dragged down, like
raining.
It was raining quite a bit. And then after, it was like this burst of energy and this burst of kind of excitement and inspiration. And we wanted to take that online with y'all and share a bit about it more as a way for us to hopefully inspire you to create your own little, what we're calling wellness pods with your friends.
So I think one of the things that ended up happening, it was like this aha, right? We met for a coffee date. It was more of like a working coffee date. Wasn't intentional to go this way, right? At all. Hence the aha from it. And it evolved into this just I'm so grateful. Now I'll tell you from my perspective, I was coming into this coffee date as I was feeling kind of low. I was coming off a vacation, like we've been out of routine, trying to get the kids back into things. And I hadn't been doing all the things that I needed to be doing, right? Like my exercise.
Your routines were off.
Routines were totally off, and I was trying to get back into them. And this served as like a reset for me. I left and the coffee date and had about 30 minutes in the car by myself driving to go pick up my son. And it evolved, like I just started going, oh my God. And one of the things that I did was you and Kate were talking about a podcast, and I immediately searched it while you shared it with me, thankfully. And so I wouldn't forget.
That's right.
She shared it with me, and I immediately put it on in the car because I'm like, I'm in the car for 30 minutes. You know, I need something to lift me, right? And I listened to it, and then I just listened to another one, and I listened to another one. I was like, oh, why am I not doing this right now? And the next day, Jen and I met. And actually that's not true. That night I opened up a book. I felt motivated to open up a book that's been sitting on my desk for 6 months that I've been wanting to read, and I've just been putting it off. And I picked up the book and I read it that night instead of looking at my phone, before bed like we sometimes get into. And the next day when we met, I was like, I'm so energized right now. Like I'm excited to get back into my routines. Which sometimes when we're out of routines, we don't necessarily like getting back into them, right? Or it's just a little bit harder.
It's hard to get back in the groove of like resetting that. And sometimes you just need a little extra push. And that's what it sounds like it was the wellness. Our little coffee date gave you that push.
Yeah, it absolutely did. And we just started talking for probably about 2 hours about how connection with people, and most importantly, I think, is with like-minded people, people who are kind of like in your sphere and like y'all are on the similar paths, right? And when you're connecting with people, which we haven't had the ability to do physically for the last year, right, or more, and people are slowly getting back into that, there is such power in connection with people who are on the same wavelength as you.
And I think that we've all gotten, or at least I'm speaking for myself, have gotten very comfortable with just the routine of going to work at home, opening up the laptop, finishing work at home, kids coming in, and then repeat rinse the whole bit. And we've gotten away from perhaps what we were doing before, which is having regular coffee dates, having regular day dates, having that physical connection where we are having like this conversation. And I think being more intentional about getting that routine back in can serve us so much good, because the physical connection of being able to talk to somebody in real life, seeing their, the way that they move their hands, feeling their physical presence,
feeling their energy as they're talking.
It's a really good point, like the actual energy.
Physical transfer of energy.
And it's too, it's bouncing ideas back off, which are much easier to have in person. And yeah, so it's like re-engaging that whole in-person connection with, to Michelle's point, like-minded people. So there's people who challenge you to be better, who are forward-thinking, who are positive
for the most part, right?
Yeah.
We all have our moments.
We talked about how like initially the first 5-10 minutes, sure, you're gonna get out kind of the wigglies of what's going wrong in the day,
right?
But it's important that we shift it into this more aspirational, inspirational kind of thinking, this more positive tone of what's been fueling us,
right?
Not just focusing on what's been depleting us. And then that will give us the ability to not only uplift ourselves, but uplift our friends. And then sharing in that uplifting moment, with giving your friends the opportunity to share their uplifting points, and then for you to incorporate that broadens the perspective too, because I know that I will listen to the same podcasts, so similar messages, but if you're listening to different ones, then I'm getting different messages, and you're kind of sharing in different inspirational or aspirational positive messaging as well.
Right. And I think one of the key, like you just touched on it, Jen, but when the type of people we're thinking about are not just people that want to see succeed and do really well in life, but people who want the same for you, right? So that's that's something
that's hard, because you got to feel it out, and you've got to build the relationship and such like that. So sometimes
right. And that plays, I think that has a big part of why being in person or connecting as much as you can with people, and you feel that physical energy, because it's a give and take, right?
It is.
And you see how they are, and if they're being genuine about how things are going. I mean, social media, we can put pictures up, we can do things all day long, and it's only a snapshot in time. Right?
Even on stories, I mean, if you think about the number of stories that are on a day-to-day basis, let's say there's 7 to 10, still, there's only like a minute and a half worth of their time. Right. So you're still not necessarily getting the genuineness from their whole day. Right. You're not seeing the full ups and downs spectrum. And I think if you're still just looking at stories as well as YouTube videos, and in this case as well, but you have to remember there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes that is not being shown, because I think just looking at that highlight reel, even when it's not always a highlight reel, like there's just a lot more that's going on.
Of course,
and it's hard to remember that though when you're in the loop.
Yeah, and so while we are here sharing these, this aha with you, part of what we're trying to do is encourage you to connect with your people, right? Find that connection, because social media is wonderful. I love getting inspiration from social media, but remembering that it's a snapshot in time. It's not the full picture. You're not receiving that physical energy and giving it when you're on social, right?
Yeah, so this is about building connection to build energy, to create energy.
And excitement. And, what transpires is also allowing for creativity to flow. When you have these moments, these consciously connected moments, then you're able to then go into your own space and really let it flow, right? And you're like, oh my God, yes, right?
The dots start connecting.
Yes, exactly. And how do I bring it back to my life? And I think just because of the way, people are, and I don't think we're gonna stop seeing a lot of work from home type jobs. Like, I think it's gonna be more. And we need to remember that break up our day or at the end of the afternoon to get out of your house, get out of your space, because things get stale.
So this is the time to actively create connections.
Yes.
Because the old days of them passively happening, like I'm going to meet somebody, we're going to go to the coffee shop just by chance. It's less likely to happen in our own bubbles these days, because we're more and more in a bubble from post-COVID.
Right.
So we have to actually go build them. So this is our intention to motivate you to actively go build your, we're calling them pods, your wellness pod, your inspiration pod, so that you can also gain all of these little ahas and connection and energy that we've been able to maintain or to get from our own.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is an evolution for us. We have decided that we're going to commit to these intentional meetups with other like-minded and people who are on our wavelength, right? So that we continue this. You know, we've gotten to a point where you're like really excited about something, and then it kind of not fizzles, but it takes a little time. But that's because we need these pushes, right?
It is.
And this is a way to push yourself. So if you're feeling like you're stale right now, or you're not as creative, or you're in a rut maybe, this is a great option or opportunity for you to do the same. So I think we're gonna do this. Yep. For about like once a month?
Yeah, so we're gonna post our own wellness pod once a month. We're gonna give y'all inspiration so that you can take, a few tidbits here and have something to start with.
Yeah.
And then what I think is exciting is, as I think about it, once you build on, then it just goes. It's like one connection to the other. And our friend might bring a different friend, and then we have that new connection. And so these like-minded communities can grow and grow and grow of more like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
I know, I am too. So stay tuned. We will be posting more about the Wellness Pod, what we would like to see it encompass, some kind of like guide rules and guidelines. And then once a month, we'll be posting templates and ideas and inspiration for y'all to be able to take on your own coffee date or wellness pod or walk in the park, whatever it looks like for you.
Whatever it looks like for you. And it's an evolution, right? So here we start today, and I'm excited to see how it evolves over the next year.
As we evolve.
Yeah.
All right, bye guys.
Bye, you guys.